Hello everyone and welcome to Whole Latte Love live streams. My name is Zach.
My name is John.
And today we have an exciting one for you. We are going over your Reddit questions.
That's right. I've been looking forward to this one. I like just a general Q&A, partly because that's a lot of just what we do on the daily here anyway when we answer phones and things like that. So this is going to be a fun one. There's actually really interesting questions in here too, so I think y'all did a good job submitting them.
Yeah, so we do have the comments open down below. So if you ever see me squinting down there, I'm just reading anything from you all out there. So we'll be going back and forth between comments on Reddit and your comments down below. We'll probably hear some noises from the producers if we spend too much time down there, but we'll get to your questions eventually.
Speaking of which, shout out to Ron on the boards today. Hey, Ron. I'm excited. We are going to be going, like Zach said, a little bit back and forth. We've already got a few folks in here. James, hello, as always. Patrick, sounds like it's your first time watching live. Welcome.
Yeah, this is a really exciting one, too. We have a lot to get through, so I think we should probably jump right in.
Let's jump right in. First, don't forget to subscribe to the Whole Latte Love YouTube channel so that you will be let know every time we do a live stream or release new videos and any other things having to do with coffee equipment and just other cool coffee stuff.
All right, and with that, I guess we should get to our first question.
Let's do it. What do we have here?
All right, Ron. There we go.
All right, what is a good upgraded tamp for the E24? That's the Gaja Classic Pro E24. All right. I just ordered
Wait, what is Revolution?
Are we going Jeopardy style?
We could.
Yeah. What is barista? Yeah, okay. I just ordered the Gaja Classic Pro E24 from Whole Latte Love. Thank you very much. I have read that the tamper isn't very good, so wanted to buy an upgraded one. Would appreciate some advice. All right, we got your back.
I agree. So we actually have the stock tamper here.
That's right.
To kind of show you what comes with the Gaja E24s, a lot of these Gaja Classics. And it is kind of this plastic handle. It's not the best. It's something that you can definitely get started. If you just order the machine, you're kind of ready to go. I mean, you need a grinder and other things. But
sure,
if you're looking for some more success and maybe you're seeing that you have a lot of coffee left over on the side of these portafilters that you want to make sure that you have a nice even tamp, I do recommend upgrading to something like this.
Yeah. Oh, we have a bunch of options, don't we?
Yeah. So we'll keep them out. So Gaja does have their own nice metal tamp that can match with their bottomless portafilters. They also sell a double spout portafilter in the same sort of style as well.
Oh, that's right.
I highly recommend that one. But the coolest thing about a Gaja Classic is the fact that it is your kind of standard 58 millimeter basket. So you can also do other upgrades like Revolution tamps, which is a great go-to. There's a little bit of a weight to it too to kind of help you alleviate some of that tamp pressure that you need to put on there. So oftentimes you hardly have to press really when you're weighted like this.
And I mean, really tamping anyway, you really just want to make sure everything is fully compressed. You know, you're not looking for like 100 pounds of pressure or anything like that. As long as everything is fully compressed, that's about as good as you're ever going to do tamp-wise. So
yeah, so other than that, you also have calibrated tamps. Now, I don't know if you want to go as far as something like the Bravo here on your Evo, but you might, or E24.
Yeah.
So these are really nice because they do have these calibrations here to ensure that you're going to be tamping nice, level, even throughout your tamp. Because a nice flat tamp is the best way to go.
Absolutely. That's my number one preferred tamper, to be honest with you. You know, not that I can't figure out how to tamp straight. I just don't have to think about it when I have these pressure regulating tampers that will tamp straight every single time.
Yeah, and the Bravo one's one of my favorites as well. We use it on a lot of shows. I keep it in my Merce.
Your Merce,
Merce.
You do carry your Merce around a lot.
Yeah,
it's filled
also,
with tampers.
Yeah, a tamper, and then it has a little scale in it. It's my little travel bag I go everywhere with.
You even got your little pocket refractometer so you can see how good your extraction was.
Yep, yeah. So I'll go to coffee shops and just ask to guest spot. It's like a celeb shot, you know, in beer pong.
Oh yeah, I've done that.
Same thing, same thing.
You've done them for me.
Yep. All right, so let's get on over to the next question here.
Nice. Number 2, we're rolling. All right, you want to read this one, homeboy?
Oh, I guess. What kind of voice do we want?
I want your newscaster voice.
Okay. Gaja E24 bottomless portafilter recommendations.
Hello. I searched through Reddit and saw different bottomless portafilter recommendations. I only know that the Classic Pro E24 has a different portafilter. So which one would work for the E24? Zach, back to you.
Wow. That was decent.
What? Not bad, right?
Not too bad.
I've been working on it. Yeah.
Vote. Who's better? No. We don't need that right now.
No, we'll do that on another live stream.
All right, bottomless portafilter recommendations.
All right.
For an E24. We have a lot of different options for this, luckily. And you know what's really cool about bottomless portafilters is that it's really a tool to kind of show our extraction. Where we already talked about, you know, tamping as level and even as possible with this tamp, and this upgraded tamp will alleviate a lot of the channeling that might happen, but this will kind of show how well you actually did that. So Gaja does, again, kind of like their Gaja tamps, have upgradable options like their own bottomless portafilter here with that very familiar handle and grip to that. They also have one that matches this tamper as well. And we also have the vitamin style ones as well. So you can see that this looks a bit different, but the ergonomics that it provides with kind of this little dropout here is absolutely fantastic. One other thing that you'll find with either one of these is that you can definitely fit larger cups underneath if you're looking to do so. I do find that I really enjoy this vitamin one. It might just be a feel, look, something like that.
There's a certain weight to it with that that extra lip right there that I really enjoy as well. It feels really nice. But you know, the other thing that, and I think we might have a question on this later that we'll get to, but I'll just get to it now. If you want to upgrade your basket from the standard 16 gram basket, once you get to kind of like that 20 plus gram basket, you might not be able to fit it in just the regular forked double spout portafilter that it comes with. You're going to hit the bottom, the basket is going to hit the bottom before it actually clicks into place. That's where the bottomless portafilter is going to help you out. You can fit any size basket in those as long as it's all 58 millimeter, which is commercial size.
Yeah, so if you want to be fitting those 21 gram shots, those really deep baskets, extra caffeine, a different kind of extraction in general that you might want with like a lot of light roasts and things like that, this is the way to go.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
That's an answer.
They're available on the website as well. Just look up Gaja bottomless portafilter. We got your back.
All right.
What else we got?
I think it's your turn.
It's my turn? All right, here we go. Cup recommendations for the Gaja Classic Pro. By the way, we are starting these with pretty simple questions. We're going to move into really complex ones later. We got a lot of Gaja ones up front, so we're still in that section here. Cup recommendations. The GCP Gaja Classic Pro offers limited clearance from the portafilter when using a scale. I don't want to do the drip tray hack, and I'll show you what that is in a second. Knowing these constraints, has anyone found cups that work with the Gaja Classic Pro and a scale? No problem, we got you.
Yeah, we got cups.
We got cups.
Yeah,
you could say we got cups.
I mean, there is kind of a trick to fitting cups underneath your spouted portafilters without actually removing the drip tray as well. I mean,
it can be done.
Most size cups, even like these smaller, not neutrals or any volumetric like Revolution stuff, if you just fit it underneath the spout, you're kind of good to go with most scales. So I'm just going to cross over here.
Sure.
So let's say we have the mini here, and yep, you can see that. Cool.
That's the Accu Mini right there, Espresso scale?
Yes, the Accu Mini. So if you actually just curl it on, there's a fitting cup. It fits. It sits. If it sits, it fits. So there's that, or we can have our Revolutions. You'll just kind of bend it through. Now, if it actually goes into the cup, that's also fine because it's not going to actually fill up all the way like that. I would hope that you're not doing a 70 gram unless you're doing some kind of crazy lungo. I recommend doubles.
Yeah.
So
And now, you know what? Real quick, the drip tray hack. Can you just
Yes.
show us what that was real quick? What they were
So-
referring to?
The drip tray hack is removing the drip tray,
Oh yeah.
and then you can fit larger scales like so. And I would recommend having some sort of cup back here. And then, I mean, it doesn't fit very nicely, but it's doable.
It
now.
fits.
It
Yeah.
fits, so.
Now, I mean, I prefer just to
Voila.
do the just to use shot glasses pretty much all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I almost never really extract into the actual cup that I'm going to be drinking from, partly because I like to mix up my espresso even before I pour milk. Sometimes I just get worried that, I like to do latte art and things like that. Sometimes I get worried that my crema is going to form an island of crema that kind of becomes impenetrable when I actually go and do my latte art. So
Yeah, you'll see a lot of latte artists actually double stack cups, so it's as close as possible. So what I mean by double stacking, I mean this is a triple stack of cups, but if you double stack, this is actually higher to your actual extraction. It's less time in the air, and it's gonna not splash as much, destroy the crema and the balance of everything.
Yeah.
It's mainly for latte art to kind of give you like a smooth texture to pour in, so you can kind of overlap that your art on top a little bit easier.
Right. Yeah, my recommendation is just use a shot glass, and then you're going to get more consistent crema anyway. Actually totally forgot about that trick. That's a good one too.
Yeah, I do it occasionally.
Yeah. When you're competing latte art competitions.
Yeah, on the occasion. I'm pretty rusty right now, but
You know what? Future live stream, just you and me, latte art throwdown.
being rusty, yeah.
Yeah, let's
do
just shake off the cobwebs. Let's see
Yeah.
who's still got it.
Yeah. I think
do
we
it.
posted that on Reddit before, where we actually had a little bit of our own competition. I think I did a seahorse, and then you did like a regular stack.
I got knocked out of the water with the seahorse,
Yeah.
but well, you know
One
what?
of my favorite go-tos.
Yeah, that's what you're known for. We got a few down here. First of all, hi Mark Jackson and hi Charlotte. New grinders of 2025 versus quote old grinders. Is there any grinder that you anticipate like the Baratza ESP Pro? I am looking forward to that. We actually saw that at SCA in Houston this year, right?
Yeah, I did actually do an interview over at Baratza's booth there.
That's right.
So we went through some more information. We will be posting that to the site when it's available. We don't currently have an ETA as it was really just released. So we're still learning when that will become more available. But when it does, you'll see it hit our site. I think it's a great grinder as well. It's paying attention to the distance of the burrs, which I think is one of the smartest moves that you see within a lot of commercial grinders these days. And now it's going to be in something very accessible to everyone, price-wise.
Big time. Yeah, I've really only seen it so far on the like Malkonig E80 grind by weights and things like that. Commercial level stuff.
Multi-$1,000 burrs or grinders.
Yeah, the fact that it's going to be that accessible is pretty cool. So I'm excited about that. Tony, what do we got here? If using filtered water, how frequently should I descale my Gaja E24? And regarding it, what mods, silicone gaskets, etc. do you recommend without actually modifying the unit? Cool. Here we
You
go.
know what's funny is that I think we have a very similar question
Yeah.
that was asked on Reddit. You
Yeah,
might be who the Reddit question was from. I don't know.
Yeah, I was going to say, we are going to get into that in a little bit, but just to kick it off here, I recommend doing it, if you're using filtered water, you probably really only need to do it every between 3 and 6 months. If you are using, and we're going to get into this a little bit later too, this is the BWT Aqualizer pitcher. This is one of my favorite solutions for filtered water. There are sachets and things like that you can put in the reservoir. What I don't like about those, although they are convenient, is you have to leave them in there in the reservoir overnight for it to actually filter the water and do its ion exchange thing, getting rid of calcium and replacing it with magnesium. So that happens over 10 hours. So you got to fill it up at night, not fill it up during the day. This takes about 5 minutes to filter, and then I can use it for my espresso. I can even pour it into the like my fellow kettle and do pour overs with it as well. So I think it's a pretty versatile option. If you use this, you shouldn't need to worry about descaling. only if you forget to change the filters or run into some kind of a technical problem with the machine where you want to run a descale.
Yeah, and then with that, I think we'll go through it a little bit later that you don't want to. Whoa, we're gonna see if we can. I stole both of these. Sorry. I wanted to play catch. It seemed fun. These are some gaskets. Yeah, this was asked. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get to that soon.
Well, yeah. You know what, Tony? These silicone gaskets are. I do recommend these. I think they last longer and they don't quite go through that cracking thing that old gaskets can go through. So these are from Barista Pro, right?
So those are actually from Cafe Works.
Cafe Works. Yep.
So close, John.
Yeah, it's
So
close. Now we do have some other things about the Gaja Classic Pro, Tony, coming up. Stay tuned. What else do we have question-wise up on the screen here? Here we go. Yeah, Tony, I think some of this is going to get into what you were asking about here. Zach, would you like to do the honors?
I can't read that well.
This is a long one. So
I can only read in accents, so it's kind of an issue.
Well, let's avoid that. And why don't I? No, I'm just kidding.
Go for it, John.
All right, first espresso machine for college apartment. Tips, tools, all that. Hey, y'all, I'm trying to figure out my first coffee setup for my college apartment with another coffee lover. Good to hear. Was recommended to me to get a Gaja Classic, so I'm looking at getting the Gaja Classic Pro E24. Will this be a good starter machine? I'll answer real quick on that. Yes. I'm looking for longevity at least until I graduate in 3 years, and it will be used daily for STEM students with horrible sleep schedules. I can only imagine. So good luck to you, my friend. All right, for reference, I like making latte art and have started trying with my Keurig with a lot of failures, and my roommate likes just straight espresso and is bringing the coffee grinder. What other tools and stuff should I get? What are the non-negotiables for this machine, and what else would be useful in general? Thanks, and thanks to you. Tony, some of this might have to do with what you're asking about, because first I want to get into the grinder. I saw your roommate is going to bring the coffee grinder. That's the part I'm most concerned about.
Yeah, it really depends on what kind of grinder. I mean, most of the ability of these machines, I mean, they're going to be consistent. With these Gajas, it's a consistent, I mean, pressurized hot water machine. Like, it's going to do the thing that it's going to do. Right?
Yeah.
It's all dependent on the flow now, which is controlled by your grinder. How good your grinder is, how good this machine is. This is why so many people love this machine too. They just upgrade their grinders around it and their accessories, and that's how good you can get, is based off the things that you surround it with.
Exactly.
It's like how you choose your friends, you know?
Yeah, you know, it's a reflection of who ends up being a reflection of who you are, right? You know what I'm trying to say. So some of the things that I would recommend are, so we just went through the silicone gaskets. I think it's a good idea. The backflush disc is going to be a big one. In fact, we have one right back here by our grinder. The Gaja Classic Pro will not come with one of these, but I do recommend it so that you can clean your group head much easier and keep things clean, keep things tasting nice. We are going to get into a little bit later. Someone had a question about, can you actually backflush this machine? Real quick, the answer is yes. I'll do a little more detail later. Get a backflush disc.
The answer is kinda.
Kinda, yeah, pretty much. And also, we already talked about this, you do want an upgraded tamper.
Yeah, big time.
Water filtration, and to me, those are kind of the big ones, the non-negotiables.
Yeah, so we also recommend something small as well, like the Solus right behind us, the Barista Perfetta Plus, as long as, again, you have a pretty decent grinder. Now, Solus also has a machine where it has a grinder built in, so if you do feel like you need to upgrade that grinder for extra ability, that one's a good one to kind of save some space as well.
Yeah, I think either one of these are going to be great starter machines. Kind of just two different ways of extracting. So we've got a thermoblock over here with the Barista Perfetta Plus, and we've got a proper boiler over here with the Gaja Classic Pro. You do have pre-infusion options and volumetric options on the Barista Perfetta Plus. Way more manual on the Gaja Classic Pro. I don't think you can go wrong either way. Just kind of depends on how you want to play the game.
And they're STEM students, so they probably want to play that game of of variables and things and upgrading and doing all the crazy stuff.
I think so. I think you'll, that kind of person that's seeking out education like that, I think you're going to have a blast figuring out how the machines work. I don't think you can go wrong.
All right. Let's go ahead and hit some of these questions down below.
Nice. Bonnie, I'm looking into the Profitec Go, and most people seem to love it, but I've seen some Redditors complain about the workflow, mostly pertaining to purging. How much of an issue is this? I'm on team not an issue because I always purge on any machine anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, what do you think?
So, pertaining to purging, I'm wondering what this has to do with anything. Whether it's like losing temperature when you're purging. I mean, you just have to wait some additional seconds if it is losing and dropping that temp when you do purge.
You know what? It's when you first started up, running some water through the group head, which, I also do that on a lot of E61 group machines, just to make sure that the hot water is actually getting through all the inner workings of the group to make sure that we're actually up to temp. To me, I think a lot of machines can benefit from, especially on startup, a good purge, you can call it that. To me, not a huge issue. I think you might run into similar stuff with a lot of machines anyway.
Yeah, I like a good purge. I mean, we're from the commercial background, so we're used to purging after every shot. Kind of cleans out everything, cleans off your shower screen, anything that might be there from beforehand. So we're big team purge.
Yep. Yeah. Not the movie purge, just espresso machines.
No.
Okay. All right, Mitchell. I want to get into home espresso, upgrading from an espresso, and I've been looking at the Gaja Classic Pro and a grinder or a Breville Barista Pro. Any thoughts? Thank you. You know what? This might be a good Mitchell. I'm gonna hold on to that question for just a second because Ron, I think we might have a similar question coming up. Why don't you hit us with one real quick? Yeah, I think this is the one. At-home espresso machine for beginners, particularly if priority is just iced lattes. Recently, our DeLonghi Dedica has started to break down. My wife and I wanted to look into upgrading and getting a new machine. Currently, we just use pre-ground coffee and for the most part make iced lattes. I've been going through posts and blogs. It looks like a good combination would be the Breville Bambino and Baratza Encore ESP. Does this sound right for our needs? Any other suggestions? Also, is drinking iced lattes a good sign, a sign of a true espresso noob? First of all, no. I love iced lattes.
Yeah.
You're in the club. Don't worry.
I love me a good iced vanilla latte on occasion.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's my sweet treat.
But I'm also like kind of a straight espresso person, and this sort of setup, I think you would find much success from. I feel like the ESP does have a good amount of flexibility to kind of dial in, especially as you're entering into this realm of espresso and your iced lattes. You're mainly just focused on how well you can dial in that espresso as it is, right?
Yep.
You don't need too much of the other features that would come with a heat exchanger or dual boiler. We don't have to get into that. We're mainly just focused on that espresso, and this is a great little setup for that.
Yeah, totally agree. I think the only thing that I want to let you know about the Baratza Encore ESP, it's a good idea to grab yourself a WDT tool. I don't know if we have one. Oh, hey, we do. Why don't we show everybody what that is real quick?
On its new little seat.
Oh yeah, this is the Vitamin. Is this a walnut?
Yeah,
WDT
so this is a
tool?
walnut WDT tool from Vitamin. So when you actually start looking at some of these entry-level grinders, what might happen is clumping, where a lot of static might be introduced during that grinding phase. This is due to maybe the lack thereof any anti-static chambers or little flaps or anything like that already in these higher-priced grinders that you might find.
Right.
So it's a way to kind of save money and you can find enough grind, but static is definitely going to be around. It's going to be an issue. So tools like this are very helpful in just kind of declumping your actual basket. Just give it a little twirl, whisk, whatever you would call this motion. Something. I don't know.
Just break up the clumps with that.
Just break up the clumps.
Yeah, and I've actually had pretty good success if I use the Encore ESP in conjunction with a WDT tool. And actually, Yeah, I'm glad you brought this out. This is the cutest little stand that you can also get. Not too expensive either. Just a really nice looking stand, and it keeps these needles from getting all bent out of shape. I didn't even know it spins like
Yeah,
this.
and
That's
it's
cool.
a fidget tool, so fidget spinner. Yeah.
Yeah, talk about it 2-in-1.
All right.
So yeah, Bonnie, awesome. Tony, awesome. Yeah, and Mitchell, I hope that answers your questions. I think the Breville Barista Pro is going to be great. I think the Solus Barista Perfetta Plus or the Solus Grind and Infuse would be something to look at as well. Either way, I think you're going to have a great time. I mean, I'm a huge fan of the Gaja Classic Pro because it operates a little bit more like a commercial machine. Instead of having a thermoblock, it's got an actual boiler. It's a little bit easier for me to get it to the temperature that I want is all.
And I like to mod it, but
Well, you know,
I'm crazy.
he's just a wild man.
All right, so let's go ahead and get on to our next question.
Yeah, I think we're starting to get a little more complicated as we get further down the line
Ooh,
here.
fun. This is when I can start talking. Maybe.
Real quick before we do this, Tony, I'm able to get great quality grind espresso with my Encore non-ESP. Is this sustainable? All I would say to that, Tony, if your shot times are not like super fast, you know, like 15 seconds or something, sure.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
I mean, that's great. It has to do with a couple different factors there. You're probably grinding a really dark roast that is pretty brittle, so it's already breaking apart and creating a lot more fines that will create that restriction. But maybe if you were to try something like a light roast, you wouldn't have such luck. So it depends on if you're trying to like expand your coffee experiences. Are you trying to do a light roast?
Yeah.
What are your goals in coffee? And that'll kind of dictate whether that grinder will continue being the right grinder for you.
That's a good concept just to make sure that we hit real quick. Darker roasts, when you grind them, will produce more fines or little fine, tiny, teeny tiny particulate. That's the thing that's always going to happen with grinding coffee, but you just happen to get more of them with dark roasts. So that, like Zach said, will help with the restriction. It can get your shot times up higher without having to go super duper fine or something like that.
Yeah, so you'll get all these very like immediately soluble things that turn into a solid and restricts your shot. There's even burrs that will actually be designed specifically for dark roasts based off of its geometry to kind of go off of this fact of that it already produces a lot of fines, so we don't need to worry about that part. Let's just work on everything else being as uniform as possible. So we change the geometry of our burrs specifically for different roasts because of this, because of what already naturally happens when we grind this kinds of coffee.
Nice. And those are the Eureka.
Those are a secret. No, I'm just kidding. Those we'll talk about later.
Yeah, we do have a plan for those. Ron, sorry, I know I had you put that question up a little bit early there. All right. Need Gaja help? I bought a Gaja E24 and wanted to buy a blind basket with Kafiza, but the technician said not to backflush. But I'm worried. I want this machine to last, and I see people backflush Gaja all the time. He told me only descale once a month, but I'm using distilled water with Espresso third wave water. I'm just worried I will screw my machine up even without just no product flushes after every shot. Yeah, I think I understand what you're saying there. So to put, let's look at it this way. The previous models of the Gaja Classic had an aluminum boiler and a brass group. Now, and an aluminum shower screen holding plate. So the Kafiza, this backflush detergent right here, and this is one of my favorite things ever. I use it on everything, not just, not just coffee stuff. But this detergent, the concern was that it might hurt the aluminum. So now I saw you specifically asked about the E24. All brass components in there, and the shower screen holding plate is steel. So no longer any concern about backflushing with Kafiza with the E24. So I think you're going to be in good shape there.
Yeah, but that being said, if you have a Pro, it's a different story.
Right. Yeah, like an Evo Pro, or even earlier Classic Pro. Right.
Yep.
Yeah, that would be the kind of thing where you do not want to backflush with Cafesa.
So that's where most techs will probably stop you in the tracks, but a lot of people just don't understand why that is. They sometimes think it's, oh, that specific machine, but no, it's actually because of the materials that are involved, which is why we say that now you can.
Right.
Your new best friend.
Yeah, you know, and speaking of which, anyone at home that does not just have a bottle of Cafesa lying around, you always need it for something. Grab yourself a bottle of Cafesa, and they last forever, like, because a little goes a long way.
Yeah, sometimes I like to flex and get like a whole white outfit when I'm behind a bar. And if I spill a little bit, so I'm still cool, you know, I just take a little hot water and Cafesa and get out that coffee.
Are you
stain
serious?
rose. Oh, yeah.
I've never done that.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
have you ever flexed in all white?
Yeah, I
Okay,
have.
cool.
Yeah, you know, like you do a full shift on the bar, but just wearing
Yeah.
all white, and then, you know, walking out without a single brown drop on you.
Exactly. It's the coolest thing. If you've ever been to a coffee shop and you walk in and like someone's wearing all white or something.
Yeah, if they're wearing all white and it's
It's a
still
cool barista right there. I tell you what.
If they're wearing all white and it's still white,
Yeah.
that's a good barista.
That's skill. You're going to get a great cup.
Yeah.
Promise.
Real quick. Oh, Persepolis is here. Hello, hello. All right.
From Iran. Hello.
Hey, hey. And what do you think about the turbo shots? I think they're cool. They're tough because you have to manipulate your pressure to do it, so you can only do it on some machines. You have to bring your pressure from, you know, 9, or some machines are even set at 12. You have to bring it down to 6 bars of pressure to properly do it.
But I love messing around with all those different styles of shots, though.
Yeah, me too.
Specific coffees, I feel like it really likes that sort of thing. It's all about your dialing in experiences and what you're trying to go for. Maybe turbo shots aren't working with some coffees, but it's a fun thing to kind of try. If you especially like the specific acids that are kind of available within that coffee, it's kind of fun.
That's true. Yeah, that's a high extraction kind of a shot. So you do kind of have to like what's already in it anyway in order to go for a turbo shot. I think, you know, with most things that we talk about, this machine, that machine, I always point it back to the grinder. Okay, this grinder, that grinder. Okay, like I always point it back to the coffee. All these things are going to be related as far as getting your best cup and your best experience.
Ooh, I like this next question.
Yeah?
Persepolis, are blind burrs better than regular burrs?
Ooh.
If so, how and why?
Go for it.
Ooh, okay. So, I mean, we can think about this in terms of math. I mean, you have a little bit more of a grinding surface as well.
Well, first of all, what is a blind burr for anyone that doesn't know?
Yeah, we should probably go through that.
Actually, this is a good example.
This is a great example. So we have the difference of a blind burr. Blind meaning that there are no holes for mounts, and the mounts are actually on the bottom and screwed into the bottom, in comparison to this over here, where there's actually a hole going through the entire burr. So when you think about it, there's little bits of coffee and things that can happen because you have a hole all the way through your burr. And every so often, just based off of like the principle of mathematics, like occasionally you'll have like larger particle distributions because of it. It's very random and periodic, which is why sometimes like seasoning this and getting all these gaps kind of closed with grounds inside those little tiny holes kind of assist with that. So it's more consistent, where this is kind of ready to go and you're going to have more consistent particle distributions that way. Now, when I say consistency, it's very minuscule. It's not something that you'll necessarily be able to notice, but I do prefer this blind burr style. Specifically just using and utilizing a lot of the pre-mashing teeth and a lot of the defining teeth that are kind of in between that and the finishing teeth. So it's really nice for things like light roasts, where you really need to utilize a lot of that. Where dark roasts, you don't need much of this pre-mashing and defining teeth because it's already creating all these fines and things during that little section of the burr.
Right, right. And you know, when you really look at it up close, it is a little bit of a significant amount of space where the screw holes are that you don't have any cutting teeth. So, you know, it does end up making a difference when you've got not just one burr, but two that have kind of like missing spots where there's no cutting teeth on it. Especially for light roast, like you said. Dark roast, I'm not quite as concerned about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I'll often at times do an equation based off of this too. So these blind burrs are actually equate to more surface area technically. So maybe instead of this being like the 55 millimeter burr, it's actually like a 58 millimeter burr.
Oh, because you're getting more surface.
Yeah, you're getting more surface. So it equates to something like that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Geez, I hadn't even thought of it like that. I'll start doing that too.
Sometimes I use my brain, John.
Occasionally.
Wow, jinx.
Zach Root, did I miss something? What does turbo shot mean exactly? So I forgot who came up with the turbo shot. It is 16 grams in, 6 bars of pressure, 40 grams out in pretty short amount of time, I think it was.
Yeah,
That's
and
the
a
only thing I'm
turbo
missing.
amount of time.
Yeah, just a quicker amount of time.
It was probably developed on something like Reddit,
Yeah.
This is kind of the place for that sort of thing. It's where a lot of these ideas are spun out of control.
That's my favorite thing about it, though.
Yeah.
So, all right, we're getting more complex as the questions go on. You want to hit another one?
Let's do it.
All right. Rancilio Sylvia, what do I need to get to have an 18-gram basket instead of the stock 14-gram basket? Do I just need to change out the basket? Quick answer, yes. If so, any recommendations? If not, do I need to... Ron, what was the rest of that? I'm sorry. If not, do I need a new portafilter as well? If so, again, any recommendations? Worth getting it naked or bottomless? Also, the Sylvia uses 10.5 bars of pressure by default. Do I need to adjust? All right, so there's a lot there.
Wow, you read so well.
Thank you very much.
I can hardly even see that.
It's like the one thing that I actually can do.
Again, I can only read in voices, so if you want to hear that, let me know. James Hoffman will join us.
We might do that later, yeah. So you don't need to buy a new portafilter. In fact, in anticipation of this question, Zach, you picked out a bunch of baskets here, right?
I did. The best thing about this is we talked a little bit about how double spout portafilters might not fit a lot of baskets. So as you upgrade to something like an 18-gram basket, ensure that it is a basket that will actually fit that spouted portafilter. In most cases, it still will fit something like an 18 to 20-gram basket, but something when you start looking it up of like a 21-gram bob, you might have some difficulties actually fitting that unspouted. So that would be the recommendation of getting something like the naked or bottomless basket just to fit something like this. But 18 grams, you're going to be pretty safe with something like a Barista Pro. I think these are great upgrades. Again, it has a nice flat wall, so you no longer have those ridges that might come with your stock basket. Now, this can provide some difficulties as well, because pressure works in a certain way that it wants to take that path of least resistance, and it will create this thing called bypass. And bypass really loves these sidewalls. And if they're straight down like this, you might get a lot more bypass than normal.
As opposed to like a tapered.
Exactly,
Right.
as opposed to that taper.
Yeah.
Where it's really going to kind of funnel in. I like that for a second.
Yeah.
It's really going to funnel and focus on the core majority of the coffee. It's going to put all that focus in the flow of the center of that. That's where you're alleviating most of the pressure.
So it sounds like puck prep and maybe even a pretty snug tamper
Yep.
will really help with something like that Barista Pro Nanotech basket.
Yeah.
Okay.
So upgrading your basket is the way to do this. You can't just fit 18 grams in a stock basket on a lot of cases, because we're really looking at the distance between your puck that you've prepped and tamped and the distance between that and your shower screen that's above your machine. If that is nice, tight, and close, then it's up to really your distribution screen of like how well that's distributed as how well your coffee puck is also going to enact inside your machine. You want that fair amount of distance, like a half a quarter's width between, so it can evenly distribute the water and extract the full bed.
Right. And was it last week that we did the quarter trick, or the week before?
It was something like that.
Yeah. On one of our more recent live streams, we showed how to do the quarter trick to see exactly how much coffee you should dose in one of your baskets. You can just look at the basket. Okay, it's an 18-gram basket. I'm going to do 18. But at the same time, different coffees have different densities. So a darker roast is going to take up more room. A lighter roast is going to take less room, and they'll both be the same weight. So that means, depending on your coffee, you're going to have different head space between the top of the bed and your shower screen. So that's where that quarter trick is going to help. If we had a quarter, I would show you, but it's I'll tell you what the live streams are on.
I have a drawer. It's a very special drawer where it's just filled with quarters. No, I'm just kidding.
I was going to say,
There's
let me see the rest of it.
in there. So yeah, this is a quarter. If you want it, John. Here
you know what? Yeah, let's just do it. We'll show you what this whole thing's all about.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
While you're doing that, I'm going to go ahead and tackle some more questions from down below in the comments. Hamid, you're asking, did the burr's speed, RPM, make a difference in your coffee? It can, actually. So you'll find that a lot of more recent grinders out there, like the VS6 from Varia, now start introducing a burr or an RPM, so the speed of your burrs in which they spin. This can produce more or less fines, and it actually changes your particle distribution. And if we think of fines as these like immediately soluble substances, it can dramatically change your cup in both like a resistance standpoint and also the acids that are then available within these coarser grinds as well. Yes, that's basically it. There you go.
Sorry, I lost you there.
Yeah, I know. I looked over at John right now. He's just looking at me.
No, I'm cracking up because I'm seeing Zach Root. What state's thanks, Charlotte. What state's quarter should I have for best taste in my shot? Probably Alaska. I'm glad you brought that up.
Alaska.
This is Ron. Give me an overhead real quick. I want to show this little. This is a quarter. You just put it right in the center of your pre-tamped, puck of espresso. Then what we're going to do is we're going to put it in the machine, and let's go ahead and do it now. And
I
then
get to go back to my good side anyways.
All right, here we go. So you just put this in the machine, but you don't brew. You take it out right away. And then you want to have a look. And this one's actually very good. It's kind of going to be kind of tough to tell, but if the quarter is all the way indented, then you've got maybe too much coffee.
Yeah, too much.
Yep, and if it's not indented at all, you've got a little room to add some more coffee. This one, however, if it's indented just a little bit,
which we can see the ridge on the side of the quarter, and that's like the key part of identifying. It's like, oh, there's enough room for coffee or water to kind of disperse even after like a blooming period as well. Right. Because like coffee will expand in here, so we want it to be able to. This is a good amount. This is good. This is fine.
Perfect.
You did a great job.
Shoot, thanks. I had a good teacher.
Who's that?
Oh, many over many years. You've taught me a lot, just so you know.
Oh, cool.
Hey,
Wow.
So you know what? There was one other thing on that question about that Sylvia. I believe you have the Sylvia Pro X. Should you bring it from 10.5 bar to 9 or 8 or whatever? I did look that up before we got on here. It turns out 10.5 on that machine is measured at the boiler. But at the group head, it's about 9. You should be all set there. It's a little complicated to change the pressure on the Sylvia Pro X. And I did find some info out there on how to do it. There's a certain nut that you just have to loosen or tighten. And then you want to turn the machine on with your backflush disc in the portafilter and tighten or loosen as you see fit, and you'll see the pressure change in real time. So a little complicated, but totally possible if you ever need to.
Cool.
All right, anyway, what else do we have here?
Just more questions, I think.
Cool. Ron, hit us. Here we go. Zach, this one I really need you for.
Okay.
Difference in flavor, 50 millimeter to like 54 through 56 millimeter burrs. Hi, I would like to know if you think there's a significant change in flavor if you compare espresso made with 50 millimeter flat burrs or 54, 55, etc. It's only a 10% increase. I'm not so sure, if someone who's not too expert in espresso tasting is going to notice it. Will it make a big difference? I think I understand what the question is here. What I think is it's not a huge difference. I think the geometry of the burrs, the cut of the burrs, and maybe even the coating on the burrs or the hardness of the burrs will matter a little bit more in that case. You know, if we're talking 50 millimeters versus like 83 millimeters, then we've got something to talk about. That little bit of a change, if you've got similar burr geometry and hardness and material, my personal feeling is I don't think it's going to be too noticeable. What do you think?
I agree with you, John.
Really?
I guess I should explain. So, when I look at burrs, I'm looking at a couple different things. I'm thinking of the sharpness of that burr, which could include the coating, which will keep that sharpness. That's typically what we're looking at with all these coatings and these big words that come alongside these, like black diamond inside and SSPs and titanium coatings. That's what it's doing. It's keeping this sharpness. Then we're looking at the geometry, how it's breaking down our coffee, specifically developed for different kinds of coffee, and then also how it dissipates heat. So something really small and maybe very fast will actually produce a lot of friction and a lot of heat. And the bad thing about heat is that it will kind of plasticize your beans. So they'll become a little bit more elastic, and elasticity is not our friend when we want some consistent results within that particle distribution.
Oh, okay.
So it'll just change the chemistry of your coffee if it does produce a lot more heat. So if we have larger and larger burrs, we're actually dissipating that heat and creating less friction over maybe the same amount of time is kind of the hope. Now, whether it's between 5 millimeters or 10 millimeters or something like that, you're not going to find the biggest difference, but it really depends on maybe the RPM of your motor. If it's being fed very slow with less friction, that's going to matter. Whether it's conical, I know we were mainly just talking about flat here, then yeah, that overall size. So something like the 83 millimeter burrs, that's going to dissipate heat and also grind quicker. Think about that. If we have larger burrs, it's naturally going to grind quicker. If it's grinding at less time, it's not going to be likely to warm up in that small amount of time as you would for like a 10 to 15 second smaller flat burr.
That's true. I mean, I think of it like a ceiling fan, right? You look at a ceiling fan on the inside, it looks like it's going like this, but on the outside, the blade is just whipping super, super fast. So it can go faster with a bigger burr without the motor necessarily having to give it too much more power. So that's going to mitigate heat as well. So, and the way that I've heard that talked about is, you know, the coffee heating up on the way out of the grinder. It's like roasting the coffee again. And that's not exactly what we want to do. We want to maintain the roast quality that the roaster actually intended in the first place, right?
Yeah, I've heard that a couple times, and it is technically correct. Don't think of it like a roast level, but it's more so dissipating heat. If you can smell your coffee as you're grinding it, that means all those aromatic compounds and those things that we want in our cup are then actually being dissipated on the grinder. So
now,
they're being lost.
I imagine you're going to smell something, but if we're talking this overly fragrant thing.
Over fragrant thing. We want those inside of our cup more so. And if we're dissipating heat, think of the roasting process in general. As we roast, we're actually roasting off more of these taste compounds, aroma compounds as we go through. If the grinder then continues that job and then puts on more heat through the process, it's not technically roasting. You're not going to see it within the agtron level or anything, so like color. But you're going to see it within, it took away more of these acids again. We don't want that. We want it to be as the roaster intended, right at that acidic level that they wanted you to taste the coffee at. So if we produce more heat, it dissipated more of those acids that maybe are super volatile and we actually want within our cup. Those are some of the first acids that are actually involved inside of our cup, where some acids are less soluble and come at a higher temperature that a grinder just won't hit. So then you're going to be left with all these acids that are less soluble, and it might be a really bad cup, it might be a really good cup. So it depends on the coffee.
Depends. I mean, like we always say, you know, depends on the coffee. Which machine should I get? Depends on the grinder. Which grinder should I get? You know, Or, how should I pull my shot? Well, it depends on the coffee.
So it's a long answer. It
Yeah.
all depends on the coffee. So just look at sharpness along with that coating, RPM. So whether it can really handle that, which I believe we have another question talking about that as well.
Yeah, and actually, we've got, like 10 or so minutes left. I want to make sure we can get to those, but real quick, do beans matter as much with a super automatic? Recently purchased a Gaja Magenta, nice. Beans still matter. One, for flavor, so make sure you're getting beans that you actually like. And two, I mostly just want you to stay away from really oily beans, especially with super automatic machines. It can really gunk up the grinding mechanism, the group, and a few other things inside of super automatics as well.
It's not a good time.
Not a good time. Yeah. But yeah, I just stick to actual flavors that you like. Just try to keep it away from like really oily beans. Not an anti-dark roast thing. There's a lot of dark roasts that aren't super duper oily, where you can get that kind of body, like smoky, tobacco-y, earthy body that we're looking for with a dark roast, that are not just totally covered in oil. So.
Yeah, it all depends on the roast practice. Like, oils are produced and go to the outside of the bean because the pores actually open on the inside. So these pores actually open over time and heat. So the more heat that we put on it, the more that bean's going to expand with all the air and the CO2 that's trapped. And all of a sudden, those oils that are all in the inside, no matter what, are now on the outside. So yes, your beans, all of them have these oils, but whether they're on the outside or the inside is what counts, which...
there's got to be a good metaphor in there somewhere.
Yeah, we'll think about
Any
that
ideas?
one. Yeah, we actually have an audience today, so.
Yes. Hi, guys. So, all right, we got a few more. Ron, why don't you hit us? We're getting into some really tough ones. In fact, this is, I think, the second to last one, real tough one. Light roast espresso grinder concerns. Hey, everyone, I generally prefer light roasted coffee beans, both for pour over and espresso. Generally, you'd grind a lot finer for espresso than for filter, of course. Yep. The change in grind size alone means the motor in the grinder has to work harder. So far, they're knocking it out of the park, yeah. And adding to that, since light roasts are generally denser and therefore structurally harder, might that be causing damage to the grinder's motor over time? First of all, this person said, and Ron, keep this up for a quick second, this person sounds like they already kind of know what they're talking about. They're check, yes, going down the list here. I'm also using an entry-level grinder, another Encore ESP, which I assume doesn't have the strongest motor out there. Do you have any experiences with grinding light roast beans for espresso over a long period of time? You bet I do. Did you have problems with your grinder because of it? You bet I did. Or am I worrying about something that isn't really an actual issue?
Well, I love this question, and it kind of reminds me of my old Jeep. So I had an old 93 Jeep Wrangler, and as I would drive to college, I had to get on a highway. And it is really rough on the highway. I'm maxing out what the motor can really do. Now, when I got my Toyota Tacoma, it can kind of easily do that speed. I'd run into no issues whatsoever. So it really depends on what motor you're starting with. Are you maxing this motor out? Are you topping it out every single time that you use it? Although like it's made to go on the road and go on the highway and everything, it might not be what is really intended for that burr or that motor itself. Now most grinders out there are kind of made for a variety of different kinds of roast. Some things like conical burr sets are actually a lot easier to produce a lot of fines. It kind of needs less torque to grind, unlike flat burrs. It needs a lot more torque. A lot more,
yep.
So it really depends on the grinder that we're really looking at. But overall, no. I would change some things out, but most grinders that you'll find nowadays are pretty well suited as long as they say that they're ready for espresso and you can get fine enough and it's not grinding forever with a quick speed or something.
Right. Now, recently, and I do have some specs for you right here, but yeah, recently there's a trend for something called white coffee, white Americanos, and that's where you roast your coffee to like right before first crack. And if you're familiar with any roasting terminology, you want to go past first crack pretty much as a rule, and then keep it there for a little while and enter your development time. We'll do that another day. But this style of coffee stops before first crack. We're talking a very, very, very light roast. In the same way that you're going to kill your grinder if you put green, unroasted coffee beans in there, it's still a pretty darn hard bean before that first crack. So for that style of coffee, you would need very, very specialized commercial grinders with super strong motors. Just to give you an idea here, the Encore ESP's motor, can you tell I prepared for this question?
I'm completely unprepared, but I do have a story later about this.
Awesome, I do too. That motor operates at 70 watts, spins at 550 RPM, okay? Now, within the Barazza family, they've got another product called the SETI 270, actually a very good grinder, very good espresso grinder. That one operates at 200 watts, so more than double the Encore ESP, and 650 RPM, pretty similar. So when you get into the Eureka Mignon series, which this Eureka Mignon Facile is part of that family, we start getting into 260 to 320 watts, but really, really fast, 1350 RPM on that grinder back there. You start getting really wild over here. If you've been on the live stream before, you know that the Chiato E37S is like my end game grinder for home espresso. That grinder operates at 500 watts. So when we're talking about starting speed and starting torque rather, it's the wattage that you want to pay attention to. If you're running into problems where your grinder's stalling, it won't grind this bean or that bean, it's going to be the wattage that you really want to pay attention to for the most part.
Yeah. Specifically for that white coffee or whatever we call it, there's a whole bunch of different names for it.
Yeah.
So oftentimes we actually use corn mills. I've actually taken tours and worked with Delano's Coffee out in Washington, and out there they actually have an indoor corn mill where they grind all that before it even gets to you, and that's the only way to protect everyone's burrs and sanity that you could safely kind of do that sort of coffee. And that kind of killed that kind of coffee for me personally. It's not really my cup of tea.
It's tough. It's equipment-wise, that style of coffee is really, really tough. Had a situation somewhat recently where we had very light roasted coffee, and we had to work with a grinder upgrade from, actually it was 500 watts. We had to bring it to a 700 watt grinder just to be able to cut through this one style of coffee. So I mean, we've seen it like pretty recently too. A lot of times you're not going to run into that too much, but something to keep in mind if you're working with like incredibly light roasted coffee. If your grinder's stalling, that could be the culprit.
Yeah. So it'll tell you. There will be telltale signs if it's struggling.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You'll know right away. Actually. Yeah. Let's see. I have one more for the screen. Do you want to hit any down here before we go?
Let's see. Ham Radio Pen Pals said that they were actually brewing with Café Bourbon espresso beans. Zach Root actually followed up. Important question: is it Bourbon or Bourbon?
Fight amongst yourselves. Thanks.
I say Bourbon.
I say burr as in grinder burr, bone, Bourbon.
Oh, Bourbon. Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
That's better than what I thought you were gonna say.
Thanks.
Bourbon.
Yeah.
I have to think about it. Bourbon. I guess it depends on who I surround myself. If I'm with Danilo, I'll be very grammatically correct.
Sure.
As if I was in Brazil. And then if I'm with you, I'll say whatever I want.
Yeah, he'll call it bourbon around me.
Hey, bourbon.
Patrick, I'm glad you're loving it. It is every Friday at 3, different topic every week. And by the way, Patrick, I love these just Q&A things, but often we will just check the chat down here and answer questions as we go. So Nick, yes, thank you, every Friday at 3. All right, we're almost out of time. Let's hit that last question and let's call it. This one, I was excited about this question.
Should I read it?
Sure, yeah, this is my bag. I love this stuff.
John, global coffee shortage. No, it's okay. I won't read in that voice. How serious is the expected global coffee shortage?
It's pronounced shortage.
Shortage.
Yeah.
Is it something that should be taken seriously, or are there plenty of solutions? Still too much uncertainty if it will ever happen.
Okay, awesome. Tough one.
See what I mean? It's always like some sort of voice.
Oh, it's got to be.
Yeah.
You sounded like someone that I would go to for advice, during my darkest hour type of thing.
Yeah, definitely.
Listen, young man. So this is what I think about the coffee shortage. I've been reading articles about an impending coffee shortage for over 10 years. And there is always a risk that coffee is going to go extinct or it won't become profitable. Nobody wants to do it anymore. The big things that are helping are a lot of genetic innovation at coffee farms. So, for example, in Colombia, Brazil, a lot of South American countries, about 10 years ago, they were dealing with, and actually for even longer than this, come to think of it, they were dealing with something called roya. That's a coffee leaf rust. And it's exactly what it sounds like. It's a fungus, an airborne fungus, which makes it just jump from country to country, that literally eats away at the coffee plant's leaves. Now, of course, without the leaves, the coffee plants can't do their photosynthesis thing, so you get a very low yield of actual coffee cherries, leading to a very unprofitable year. And sometimes that even causes a global coffee shortage, which causes the price of coffee to skyrocket, which we're actually working with right now. This is a way bigger subject. I've got a lot of thoughts on this kind of thing. So maybe we should do an entire live stream just on,
We definitely could, because then we start focusing on soils and what we're now doing with soils and shade trees, what we're growing coffee with, the differences between commodity coffee and specialty coffee, and why might farmers switch to specialty, or why they might stick to commodity. And it really depends on the hectares that they're working with. They might be able to make a lot more money if they have maybe 2 hectares in comparison to many hectares, and what those farms really look like. If you look at commodity coffee, it's a bunch of coffee trees, and they're filled with black cherries to your nice ripe red ones and everything like that. It's kind of all over the place. Yeah. It's all over the place.
They're shaken down with machines instead of hand-picked,
Yeah, where specialty is going to be intertwined with maybe a lot of fruit trees. They're intertwined with a lot of shade trees. It's in the middle of a forest.
A lot of biodiversity.
And this has to do a lot with the soil regeneration. Something like that. Yeah. That's the word that I'm trying to look for. But how healthy that soil can be naturally, instead of using any sort of preservatives or anything that will actually harm your soil over years, which also fluctuates within our shortage as well. Will that soil be able to keep producing and growing? If if we're focusing on soils, it will reproduce all of these things within the soils that it can keep going for years to come. But there's some farms that continue to die. Farms, like, every year continue to die. Their soil can't keep up with another year, and it's just the end. And we have to wait for so long or focus on those soils and plant other things in order for it to come back.
And that's just touching soil. That's not even getting into the price of coffee, which has been criminally low, very difficult for farmers to make ends meet. That turned around recently. Again, this is going to be a whole nother live stream. But back to genetic innovations, the Colombia varietal. Colombia is not just, of course, a coffee-producing country.
Bourbon.
Yeah, yep. There's new varietals that are actually resistant to that leaf rust, for example.
Jamaican Blue Mountain was one of the original ones that we found that was resistant to that, which is why you started finding those a little bit more often.
Yep, yeah, sometimes you get crossbreeds of coffee plants that can withstand, stand up to more diseases. They're not quite as disease prone. Robusta, for example, very disease prone, or disease resistant rather, and very easy to grow. So super profitable. Now, Robustas are also getting tastier and tastier with more innovation. So we're hoping to see some more Robustas in the specialty market.
Fun thing is, Arabica is a hybrid, right? So.
Oh yeah. Actually, that's a good answer right there. A good story right there. But anyway, all that to say, coffee is an unbelievably difficult business, especially towards the farming end. Doomsday stuff, I've been hearing it for so long, and as long as we continue to innovate and keep economic practices sound, then everyone's going to be able to keep doing this. And it's just going to take innovation.
Yeah,
so
and we'll just keep doing our job over here of educating, and making sure that everyone knows what they're really putting their money towards when they're buying this really nice cup. Whether it's Untold, Whole Latte Love Coffee, these are all direct trade relationships. So those farmers are getting directly paid by us in order to get these kinds of coffees. So this is going to be way more sustainable over time. So a lot of the coffees that you'll actually buy from us, Untold, a lot of these higher end specialty coffees, they're getting paid a fair amount. So we'll be able to continue seeing these coffees for a long time to go.
Absolutely. Well, look, we went 5 minutes over real quick. Patrick, I heard China's starting to pick up on use and producing. True?
Yes, they are.
Yes. I got a lot to say there, too.
He's famous in China.
I went to China. I was just in China earlier this year, and I went to this one shop, and I had one of the best coffee experiences I've ever had in my entire life. And they actually do grow coffee in China as well. So, and I had some crazy cups of coffee there. So, story for another time. But we could just talk about farming and actual coffee practices for so long. Let's do it. Let's do it again.
We will.
All right.
Any ideas out there, feel free to leave it in the comments. Again, this is going to be posted after it goes live. So feel free to let us know some things that you might want to hear, whether it's about specific origins, soils, anything. We're over here researching all day, every day, trying to stay up to date. So thank you all for joining us today. Again, my name is Zach.
My name is John.
And we'll see you next time.
Ron was behind the boards. Thanks, Ron, and thanks everybody over here.
We have a whole audience today, but thank you for joining us.
Thanks, y'all.